SK Mining Corp has one of the best land positions, hands down, in the Golden Triangle. They completely surround Skeena. Okay, Skeena Resources, completely surrounded by the land package that SK Mining has. All right, and what are we looking for? Well, Eskay Creek, which was a VMS, a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit that was discovered in 1989, ended up being one of the most amazing gold discoveries in human history. It was the single highest grade precious metal rich VMS deposit out of everything on Earth. Okay, you can see this chart. It plots gold grade in grams per ton on the vertical axis, deposit tonnage on the horizontal axis, and Eskay Creek, hands down, was an exceptionally rich deposit. All right, now it also had silver. Eskay Creek ended up producing 3.3 million ounces of gold at a grade of about 42 grams per ton gold, and it also produced about 160 million ounces of silver at a grade of a little over 2 kilograms per ton silver. Okay, so it was an exceptionally rich VMS. Now we know VMS do not occur as one offs. Now, one thing I'm going to say before we move on, this dot where SK Creek is on this chart reflects the original deposit. Okay, fast forward to today, Skeena. Skeena has found another 5 million ounce gold equivalent right around. This is the lower grade part of the SK Creek system, but they've added another 5 million ounces gold equivalent around the old deposit. All right. So in total, this thing is an endowment of something like 10 million ounces gold equivalent, of which this high grade part was important. But, don't forget the bigger picture here. That's a huge, huge world class deposit. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So this week, the company put out a news release. So this is partly an update, but it's also partly to show, like, give some depth on what the plans are about drilling and exploration this year. In fact, I am going to go up there. This is one of my top priorities. Is I'm going to go. I'm going to let the geologic team, get started in late June. I've asked them to do certain things, as far as boots on the ground work to investigate some of the new targets we have in preparation for drilling later in the summer. And as soon as they get up there and get their feet on the ground and kind of gather some thoughts, gather some data, I want to go up and join them. Okay, and we're going to review the targets that the company has recently identified. Now, the targets that I'm going to talk about have been generated for the most part by some work uh, by Riaz, who came in and showed us geophysical reinterpretation or manipulation, I should say, where you can take our magnetics data and you can produce very high resolution anomalies that can readily be seen and are very comparable, like directly comparable to SK Creek. So we're gonna have a look at these things. The two highest priority targets, Maroon Cliffs and Hexagon Mercury, are shown in red. But we have other targets like Tarn Lake and Scarlet Knob, where the team actually did hit some VMS mineralization last year. Short intervals, but 10, 12 meters of pretty good grades. And then down south of TV in particular, there's a really interesting mag anomaly, very, very pronounced feature that might host more of that important deposit. One other, I'm kind of pushing Cumberland. It's one of my pet favorite targets on the property. Why? Because it's basically in the same section as Eskay Creek. But anyway, I'm going to talk about each one of these here. Okay, so if we go over now to the right hand side of the image, we're looking obliquely down at the ground, and it shows our tenement package, the red lines there, but it also shows where these targets are. You've got Maroon Cliffs front and center there. You've got the Eskay Creek deposit. We're looking south, by the way, in this image. You got Eskay Creek over to the right, basically due west of Maroon Cliffs at the north end of the Eskay anticline. So Maroon Cliffs is at the north end of the east anticline. Eskay Creek is at the north end of the Eskay anticline. So basically, same geologic setting, very similar geophysics. I'm going to show in a minute. It's very compelling. We've also got Tarn Lake, which is a bit higher up. It's right at the end of that glacier. That's where the guys hit some mineralization late last season. Hexagon Mercury, which is an area that has seen virtually no exploration, but is right in the same package of rocks, right on trend south of the Eskay Creek mine. And then TV Jeff there, you can see that's where we've done most of our drilling over the past couple of years. All right, so why are these targets important? Well, because they fall in areas where you have these important Hazelton group rocks. Down here in the lower right, you can see Eskay Creek is in that kind of greenish yellow package of rocks just above the purple horizon. The purple is the lower part of the Hazelton group, and then Eskay Creek is right up into that Eskay rhyolite and so forth. So we're seeing similar setting in each one of these targets. Notice they all fall in about the same, more or less the same stratigraphic position. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what are these geophysical targets that we've identified? Well, look, when Riaz did his work, he actually compared it directly to the Eskay Creek deposit. And you can see over here on the left, you can see right about the middle top circle, there's Eskay Creek. I take that over and show some blowups of that and inset over here in the upper right. And you can see that Eskay Creek has this really pronounced kind of dimply texture in the magnetics here with a very distinct blue moat around it. Okay, so there's a low response circling these kind of very discrete, pimply high grade, high amplitude features. All right, now notice in the far upper right, there's the footprint of the Eskay Creek deposit. You want to talk about compelling. I mean, that shows you that the deposit is directly associated with that blob of magnetic response. In geology here, we don't often have the luxury of seeing such a compelling correlation, but in this case, it looks compelling to me. Okay, that deposit is sitting right in the middle of that moat. Think of it like a castle with a moat surrounding it, and it's telling us something. It's telling. And now down here in the lower right, those are 3D images. What are the green blobs? Those are basically 3D models, inversion models of the magnetics, and we can see it from the side that the protrusions, these areas where this magnetic response kind of pokes its nose up, that is where the deposit lies. Okay, wow. All of those drill holes are basically outlining the foot of the Eskay Creek deposit, and yep, it sits right on top of that thing. Compelling? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's go look for more of these. We're going to go to Maroon Cliffs first, which is, you can see back on the left there, is due east of Eskay Creek. Let's go to the next image. Okay, this is a zoom in of the Maroon Cliffs area. It's got the same magnetic data draped over the circuit surface topography here, so it kind of looks textured. But you can see that really fine those fine blobs of red in that sea of blue there. Okay, it's that same kind of castle and a moat kind of pattern. This is pretty compelling. Now, you might say, oh, geez, you don't really know what's there. We don't know what's there. Okay, this is truly, kind of a swing for the fence kind of concept here. The geophysics tells us there's something interesting going on here, but truth be told, the area is covered with trees, and it really has seen very little prospecting. There was a little bit of historic silver or soil sampling that was done kind of on the edge of this anomaly, and it did show at least some anomalies. But that's all the data we have from this area. So we're going to go out, look at it on the ground, try to get a sense of what the heck this thing is, and hopefully this turns out to be a very, very important target for us. It might be Eskay Creek too. That's the kind of concept we have here. All right, we're gonna do this, and I can't wait to get up there myself and see this thing. All right, so let's go to the next slide. This image shows you the 3D model again. So we've tilted everything. We're kind of looking south now, and over here, Eskay Creek, you can see the green Pajinga sticking up where the Eskay Creek deposit is. Well, look over there at Maroon Cliffs. You've got several of these green Pajinguses sticking their nose up to surface underneath that dimpled area. Okay, so if Eskay Creek is associated with one, well, maybe Maroon Cliffs is. Okay, very, very compelling data. There is another one right in the middle there. I'll point out too, which is kind of interesting as well. You never know. There might be more going on here than we know. Anyway, that is a compelling similarity between those two targets. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, hexagon Mercury. This is a bit of a dated image. It shows hexagon Mercury as being a small oval. I've actually redrawn it as a big yellow oval there. I think this hexagon Mercury target is looking really compelling too. Now, this is not magnetics data here. This is actually our SkyTem data from 2 years back, but we do have magnetics in here too. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, this shows that process magnetics data right in the center over here on the left. You can see the hexagon Mercury area. You've got kind of got this northwest trending blobs of red, and they kind of have it's more subtle, but clearly present blue motes around them. Now, what's really compelling though is when you go over to the 3D model over here. So that red arrow, by the way, on the left is actually showing which way you're looking at the sections over here on the right. Okay, so think of the red arrow as pointing in the view, the directional view that you see on the right. Okay, here on the right, you can see the green blobs. They're modeled 3D inversion model, and they come right up the surface. All right. So over there at Lulu, where we know there is a small deposit, you can see one little Pajinga sticking its nose up, and it touches surface. And guess what? There's a deposit there. Okay. But as you come along trend further to the southeast, you can actually see several little apophyses, little green blobs poking their nose up, and some of them get to surface. Have they ever been drilled? No, these have not been drilled tests. Okay, this is very, very exciting stuff. There could be a whole new discovery to be made in this area. We know through surface sampling and a little bit of other data that there is some, we'll call it geochemical noise in this area, and this might end up being a very important discovery. By the way, the Jeff deposit, which is way over here on the left-hand side of the right-hand image, that Jeff deposit is right where one of the little green noses sticks its head up and comes to surface there. So again, compelling. Every time you see these green blobs come to surface, boom, there's your deposit. All right, let's see if we can find a brand new Eskay Creek right there in the middle of hexagon Mercury. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now we've got an image showing Scarlet Lake. Scarlet Knob and Tarn Lake. And it's right at the end of the Bruce Glacier there that you can see there. Okay, so I've drawn a red circle around it so everybody knows where this is. Eskay Creek Mine is kind of the top center of this image. That's at the north end of the Eskay anticline. By the way, Maroon Cliffs would be off the north east or the upper right of this image, so it's off of the map. But right here at Scarlet Knob and Tarn Lake, we have an area that was identified by the guys last year that is compelling. It looks like there's something more going on there. All right, let's go to the next slide. What did they see last year? Well, they got a lot of surface samples of clearly VMS stockwork type mineralization, very good grades in places. In fact, some very high grades, tens of grams, like 56 grams per ton, 20 grams per ton over here on the right-hand side. And then even over on the on the left-hand side, you can see 9 grams per ton right next to the ice there. Okay, there's also high silver with some of those samples. So it looks like there's basically a VMS system hiding underneath the nose, the terminus of that glacier. And they did drill some holes on the left-hand side. They did hit some VMS mineralization. They're going to go back in and retest this area because it looks like they've had a year to digest it, and they think they know where that system might open up. All right, it could be a very important new discovery for us. Let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to touch on one more before I end the discussion around Eskay Creek here. It's that area south of TV. Okay, so in the image on the left-hand side, you can see the TV deposit is associated with kind of these dimply red features. And then we have this big stonken, red feature off to the south. And it was not tested by drilling last year. Okay, we did not get to it. Now over here on the right-hand side, you can see now we're looking east. Okay, so we're looking almost due east. You can see again, Jeff shows that little apophyse coming up. Boom, there's Jeff hugging that that little green apophyse that's sticking its nose up. You got TV. Yep, it's associated with that green blob that's sticking its nose up. But you can see there's another green blob that's off to the south or to the right from TV. And I've kind of highlighted it. I think in the lower image, the lower of those images, it shows it better. So right below surface here, there's a big blob that's sitting there that looks like it could be maybe a good target, another TV replicate the target. People say, well, geez, are TV and Jeff done? Did you guys drill them off? No, I think there's more opportunity here. There might be more of these things. And you got to remember, these things are almost identical deposits to what Skeena has up at the Eskay Creek mine. In every respect, the geology is very, very similar. The gold grades and the silver grades are very, very similar. We might find more. We might actually get the rest of the system here is figured out as we use this new magnetics data. All right. So let's SK Creek, lots of exciting work coming up. The company does have enough money they feel to undertake this program this year. They're going to be very careful. Going to throw money around, like throw nickels around like manhole covers, as they say, right? So we're going to go at it, be very careful. I'm going to go up there. I'm very, very anxious to see this. Is the first time